man. Welcome to another episode of the Organic Mindset Podcast. It is officially the week before Thanksgiving, so that's a blessing indeed. I'm already hearing buku people outside playing Christmas music, so, tis the season. And just a quick little overview. So, last year, man, I was in BR for Thanksgiving, of course. Gave my people some little subliminals that I was coming home, and came all the way home early Thanksgiving morning thinking that I was about to get blessed. Probably got home probably by 10 that morning. I'm like, okay, they should be, cooking by now or something. Came home, nobody had cooked. Went to my grandma's house, she didn't cook for the first time ever. So I was hurt for last Thanksgiving, man. Shout out to my boy Tyler. Back door, went to Lafayette, got me a nice little healthy plate. But hopefully this year, my people get some act right with them, and they'll go ahead and do what they need to do for your boy. But anyways, man, we tapped in for another week, man. Got some interesting info for y'all. Very exclusive topics. Just a couple things I had really just kind of thought of. And like I said, I switched it up this week, man. So I'm pretty much rocking out solo. I went to Houston this weekend, and I was just thinking to myself, in the midst of everything, who I would have on the show. And pretty much when it came down to it, I was like, man, I felt like these, the topics that I kind of want to discuss, I really can relate to them all, on a different standpoint, just because I feel like this is either, things I go through or just things I've seen just from a, very close standpoint. So, yeah, man, I'm going to get right into it. Right after I give y'all a couple of small little nuggets, man. So, I had before I started recording, I messed around with the tropical smoothie, and I want to say probably about 7:30 in the evening or whatever. Got me a little island green. Of course, it was happy hour if you didn't know. So it was around $4 or something like that. Delicious. Got to try it. And if you listen to the podcast, the day that they come out, which is obviously Friday, then 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be sipping on a 32-ounce smoothie from Smoothie King for the 5. So quick little $5, $5 Friday if you didn't know. Gotta mess with the veggie superfood. Gotta mess with the vegan mango kale. Shout out to that boy Kane. And you gotta mess with the vegan pineapple spinach. But of course, if you on a keto diet and you're trying to watch your carbs, it's probably not for you. But of course, do your research. But man, yeah, we're gonna get right into it. So the first topic I wanted to really talk about was identifying your purpose in life and pretty much how important this is. So what made me kind of talk about this topic was because I felt like a lot of times I see myself kind of trying to figure out what my purpose is in life. I'll more so kind of say always going back to the drawing board, not necessarily as far as activities I'm doing, but just in general, okay, I know what I do on a day-to-day basis, but is this really what I'm here for? And I feel like it was so important for me to speak on this because I feel like a lot of times people get caught up on a day-to-day basis as far as doing this or doing that, or kind of getting by, but not really trying to discover what their actual purpose is in life. And I feel like in order to discover what your purpose really is in life, of course it takes a lot of things as far as stepping out of your box. I feel like number one, of course you have to pray about it and really be in search of what your purpose is, because I feel like if you're not in search of it or not aware that you're not living up to your purpose in life, then it might be right in front of your face, but you really won't realize it. And possibly by the time you do realize it, not saying it's too late because there's really no time stamp in it, but it's just like anything else, that's seen in a positive manner. Why not obtain it as early as possible? So with, just pretty much, like I say, having that purpose in life is something that can pretty much just change your whole life and make living seem that much better, because I feel like a lot of times us as humans, we kind of get in this robotic state where we pretty much just kind of go through the motions. And it is important in order to be successful and kind of like identify what your purpose is in life. You do have to have some type of consistency within your life. And I feel like if this consistency is pretty much compiled with good habits, then you pretty much can't go wrong. And it's only a matter of time before you truly do identify your purpose in life. But if you are an individual that's unhappy and you feel like whatever you're doing just isn't for you, then you should pretty much try to step out of that box, because with stepping out of that box is no telling what you can accomplish. And it pretty much just all starts with like the small things, because I'm so big on trying new things as far as places, restaurants, activities. And I feel like with your purpose in life is so wide range that it's no telling what your purpose is in life. And it could be the complete, and when I say the complete, I mean the complete opposite of what the next person is. And I feel like it's something that you can't have someone just tell you, okay, yeah, you were meant to do this, or, this is your purpose in life. It's something that you will feel. And I feel like if it's something that you identify, then you'll most definitely know. And it is most definitely other resources out there that can pretty much help one obtain or kind of reach this goal. Because even I feel like, me personally, I'm not gonna even say I know what my purpose in life truly is, but just kind of being on that journey has been something exciting for me. Just pretty much just trying to figure out like kind of what's for me. And I mean pretty much in every aspect. But I feel like personally, reading books has kind of been like a big benefit for me, because like I said, everybody's journey is different. But like reading different books about other people's journey has helped me kind of just discover like, okay, maybe this is a sign that I'm ignoring. And not necessarily saying it had to do anything with their journey or kind of like the steps, but just kind of like looking at that and also analyzing like what's going on in my life. I'm like, man, okay, maybe this is my purpose, or, how other people kind of stated, my calling. And I feel like it's just so important to kind of almost like have a purpose. And it's just like with anything else. I mean, granted, sometimes people do certain things without having like a goal. But even if you truly analyze something, like pretty much everything that we do as humans, majority of the time, it has a reason. And you could just think about some of the day-to-day activities. Eating. You eat so you won't be hungry. You sleep so you won't be tired. Even like other things that we tend to do. Play the game. So we play the game, to win or to relax or whatever your personal preference or personal thing may be. So I feel like just like with life, is this journey. And that's why I kind of always like look at it as this thing called life. But I feel like at a point, I didn't really look at life to be that. But now I just kind of like realize it really is limitless. But at the end of the day, you kind of have to put in the work to get to the point that you would like to get, where you would like to be pretty much. So once I had kind of like just changed up my like mindset, I feel like I kind of got that much closer to my purpose in life. And the next thing I kind of wanted to talk about, it pretty much kind of like tied in with your purpose in life, but it's self-worth. So with self-worth, I feel like a lot of times people neglect this or either confuse it with confidence. Just because you're confident about something, or even just confident about yourself in general, that doesn't necessarily mean that you understand your self-worth. Because a lot of times people use confidence to kind of like hide something else. Not saying that all the times, because some people just are confident, as you should be confident. But self-worth is just in a complete different, lane. And it pretty much just almost like speaks for itself. It's like when you know your self-worth in several aspects. For one, if you're thinking about it from a business standpoint, you won't accept anything less than what you're really worth, self-worth. And if you're talking about relationships, whether that be boyfriend, girlfriend, or even a friendship, then you won't put yourself in a situation where you're worth more. And like I said, it's not to sound like a certain way or sound like hateful, but it's pretty much just like about being realistic. And I feel like realism is just kind of like one of those things that kind of ties into that too. You really have to be honest with yourself, because I always say people lie to themselves first before they lie to someone else. And a lot of times this is why it almost sounds regular or kind of sounds normal. And it's so normalized because once you lie to yourself or you tell yourself something and you really, really believe it, then whenever you tell it to the next person, you're like, oh man, this just sounds convincing. And once you keep saying it, man, it's over with. It's pretty much like that's the truth right there. And a lot of times, like I say, it's just kind of like almost self-acknowledgement, So that's just kind of like one of the biggest things I kind of wanted to say, like with self-worth. I feel like with self-worth, once you realize that it's pretty much like no coming down. It's like you won't accept any less than what you're really worth. And some people say it could be like a bad thing, but I personally don't see that, because it's just almost kind of like making you aware. And like as far as the bad aspect, most of the time it's associated with passing up on good things or good opportunities. But I'm a firm believer, like as far as you believing in yourself, if you believe in yourself, regardless of if you did turn down a good deal or a good relationship, then it's always something better. And that is one of those kind of comments that, might sound harsh, but like I say, I just strongly believe that self-worth is really like also one of those other things that pretty much nobody can take from you. And I feel like at the end of the day, it's pretty much acknowledged by the people that it's supposed to be. Some people may see it as, a bad sign, but at the end of the day, I promise it'll get noticed. Like, just because it's like, okay, I see that person and they pretty much know their worth. So some people, like I say, it kind of like having that self-worth really allows you to not let others take advantage of you just because you know what you're willing to step to. And I guess that kind of, like I say, is just kind of like the big tie-in part to everything else. And it's pretty much crazy, like I say, what made me kind of like talk about this topic, because honestly, I always felt like, I knew my self-worth. Granted, sometimes I do get in weird situations, but the thing about it is I kind of know when I need to get out of that situation. So I feel like that's, that's something that kind of comes with it as far as like awareness, because sometimes looks can be deceiving and you get yourself in situations that you're not sure about or kind of like uncertain about, I guess you would say. And like I say, some people might say that part right there is just kind of like the complete opposite of what, self-worth is. But I don't necessarily believe that, because like I said, looks can be deceiving. Somebody can, come off as being this, or a deal can come off as being better than it truly was, presented to you. But as far as, like I said, the whole conversation, I had kind of like read, came across something or whatever, and I kind of wanted to share it. So it was like just discussing 5 ways that we compromise our self-worth. And the first one was perfectionism. And I mean, it pretty much kind of like gives, a clear visual as far as like what each one means. But this one kind of stated, we feel unworthy if we're imperfect. So like I said, I feel like, once you kind of like have that solidified, like standing in your mind that, not saying you're perfect, but that you pretty much, like I say, people mess up and, things of that nature. So it's no such thing as perfect. I feel like that'll kind of assist with that. And the second one was overworking. So it says we work to excess in order to feel value and receive tangible proof of our worthiness, whether that be praise, financial compensation, award, and degrees. And I feel like with this one, this is kind of like a bigger one, because a lot of times it can be associated with kind of, just having goals. But I feel like at the end of the day, it's kind of, ties back to the other things I said as far as knowing your purpose in life. It's almost kind of one of those things where you have to have goals, but you also have to like realize what is for you, and kind of like at the end of the day, no one is going to, really truly care about you like you. And it's not to sound selfish. If anybody, feels like that right there is selfish as far as, you putting yourself first, then obviously, it's a problem in the situation. So the third one is busyness. So it says we overschedule and keep ourselves busy as a way to distract ourselves and feel needed. So that's also kind of just one of those things with like knowing yourself is, being able to move by yourself and not have to constantly rely on others. And like I say, sometimes, it is people that we may come across that, pretty much can't do anything on their own. And not to say that, they're extra dependent, because it's not necessarily like, it's something physical that they need you to do, but it's more so kind of like going shopping or, going out to eat. It's like they can't do that by themselves. And I feel like, once you start doing those like little small things by yourself, it really kind of gives you like a sense of peace. And that was kind of just, one of the things I had personally experienced. And I never had really felt like I just needed somebody to always go out with me. But it's kind of like, just having, kind of like being used to it, or kind of like having habits, because majority of the time, like I said, I used to always go out. It was like I would have people with me. But eventually, I kind of just stepped out of that box and I was like, okay, I want to do something, major by myself. So that had kind of caused me to, I guess, start out kind of small, just doing like little small stuff or whatever, going out to eat by myself mainly. And then it'll just kind of like give you time to, time to kind of like reflect on life and kind of just, where you are in life. And it's so crazy, like it's so many articles, on it. And like I said, a couple of years ago, it was crazy because I was kind of like one of those people, reading into it, just kind of like, man, where should I go by myself, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. But in a lot of situations, when you don't have another choice, you just have to do it. So that was kind of like, my thing. And eventually, like I said, I kind of, found just inner peace with doing that, whether it be, just me kind of going to the park and stuff like that. So that was, that's definitely like a practice that I would kind of just recommend. Just try doing stuff, by yourself, and it would just kind of like really show you how much that you could really do on your own. And I had pretty much, like I say, this year, as I had stated on one of the other episodes with Kid, I had went to Miami by myself. So, and initially, the trip really wasn't planned like that. I was, supposed to go with my people, but last minute, I ended up going by myself or whatever. And I was out there for like maybe 4 or 5 days. And it was a pretty, fun experience or whatever. And I was kind of like glad I had ended up, going by myself or whatever. Because of course, like I said, I met people, and I feel like not everybody can do this, but it's almost just kind of like, taking those baby steps, just doing smaller things within the city and eventually kind of getting to that point. Because like I say, it really does kind of give you that peace, and you could really be like, dang, I did that by myself, blah, blah, blah. And after, coming back from that trip, it really just made me want to kind of go do other things by myself. So back to the list. So number 4 was comparison. So we look to others to measure our value. We compare ourselves to others to feel inferior. So this is also something that's, pretty common, and I kind of see it all the time. So on majority of the episodes, some kind of way we always evolve to social media. So I feel like now social media kind of has the biggest effect on this part, not necessarily people we see day to day, and I like in modern terms, they would consider some of these people like haters or whatever, as far as, especially if they just kind of like trying to measure their value or, kind of, like I say, hating on them. But like I say, with social media and stuff like that, you'll see all these different things, all these different celebrities and all these different influencers, and people tend to compare themselves to them, and they feel less than themselves when they don't feel like they equivalent to these people, not realizing that, at the end of the day, it is social media and it does have a purpose. And I feel like some people really are like that, but others, just kind of like portray their image just because that is what they do. And as far as, comparing ourselves to others to feel inferior, that's pretty much just kind of, like looking down on someone, which, you honestly should never do. But number 5 is people pleasing. So it says we prioritize other people's opinions above our own. We compromise our values and needs to please others, and we feel less than when others are angry or disappointed with us. So this one kind of like, really hit home for me because I never really was that type of person as far as, prioritizing other people's opinions over mine. And not to say, that I'm not open-minded or whatever, or I'm so self-centered where I can't take either constructive criticism or believe that someone else is right. But with this one, it was more so kind of like, just feeling, I guess you would say like they said, less than, where other people are like angry or disappointed. But I kind of had, like a major experience in my opinion where it just kind of opened my eyes up to pretty much just, fully being honest with someone and kind of, not letting them guilt trip me. And ever since then, I kind of been like on this spree, like, okay, if I'm honest with you the whole time, friendship or whatever, and you feel a type of way about it, then obviously, you're pretty much like not for me, and I feel like it really kind of help in a sense, just kind of filter out those negative people. It is almost like, just like a Sunday cleaning, just kind of get them out the way. But this is something, I feel like I say, we really suffer with a lot because I guess you would say sometimes people are broken, and with people being broken, other people, don't know how to handle them. So they just kind of, pretty much bow down to the next person. And I feel like this is something you should never do, just because it's kind of like showing a sign of weakness. And a lot of times people take advantage just because they see, okay, well, I know I can make this person feel bad or less than they really are by doing this or reacting this way. And like I say, of course, words are hurtful too. So it's so important to be mindful of some of the things you're saying and just also some of the things you're taking in, because at the end of the day, we're all people and you don't have to take it in. You don't have to listen. The next thing I wanted to hop in was giving chances, slash, I guess you would say, like forgiveness. So I feel like this was kind of like one of those things, I kind of suffer with or whatever. I catch myself like giving people too many chances, and it wouldn't necessarily be, a certain type of people. Of course, like I say, most of the time it'll be like friends or something, kind of like associated with that. But I feel like it had kind of got so bad internally where it was kind of like, almost messing with my peace and messing with my energy, because I'm always, a firm believer, like you pretty much get what you give. And a lot of times people, are so willing to take that they don't feel like they need to give. So it was kind of like one of those things, and of course this is kind of like really so heavily opinionated because, at the end of the day, you have to be analyzer, I guess you would say, of your particular situation. So in my situations, it was never anything major because, I'm real kind of like firm on that, especially, with friends or anybody that I kind of keep close in my circle, even worth, kind of speaking on or speaking about. I feel like certain things we just kind of already know that, if you do that, then that's pretty much like crossing off the limit. Like you can't even be mad at me if I choose to cut you off. But I always feel like it is, a certain way of handling it, because at the end of the day, like I say, you were my friend. So I feel like we're both, grown, if it is, two people or whatever, which most of the time it can be one of those situations where it could be kind of like isolated. Okay, like, you did this, let me have a conversation with you. What made you do that? Like what brought that, brought us to this point where we had to have this conversation, like, dang, but I guess within, kind of like just the giving chances and forgiveness, it kind of like helped me realize the importance of communication, because a lot of times with situations we'll feel butthurt about something, but instead of us, reaching out to the other person, kind of like getting clarification or expressing how we feel, we'll just kind of like assume, okay, they did it because of this, or, this is what it was, instead of kind of just getting that clarification from that person. And, despite, like I say, with this situation with me personally, it has gone, both ways. Sometimes it's going good, sometimes it's going bad, where it's like, okay, we're not friends anymore, we can't, speak, blah, blah, blah. I mean, granted, that's not the conversation that happens. It's a little bit more harsh. But at the end of the day, it's important to kind of just like talk and like, communicate in every aspect, because I feel like at the end of the day, if you don't communicate, you assume you pretty much already doing yourself the injustice. Because I always say, just talking to my people, it's like your mind can wander, two ways. Either you could take whatever somebody is saying for the best, or you could take it for the worst. And I feel like the way kind of we like have our minds programmed to think, a lot of situations where we could think the worst, we tend to think the worst. And I've been in so many situations where it hasn't been the worst, which has, resulted in me kind of acting the way that I act now, or reacting the way that I act now. So as far as like just kind of asking that clarification, like, what I'm saying, like, what's up with this? Or, where did this come from? Or like, what, what I'm saying, why you saying this? And I feel like, for me personally, like I say, it has helped, but it is also, important in that situation as far as like giving chances to understand, someone's like true intentions. And like I said, that goes for friends as well, not just necessarily, partners or anything like of that nature. Because like I had said earlier, a lot of times, things could seem good initially, but all depending on kind of like our relationship with that person, we tend to like ignore these red flags that are just kind of like going off like, okay, do you not see this? And I feel like, just all in all with this conversation, like something that has kind of like just helped is becoming, aware of these situations, or aware of these, red flags, and being like, okay, well, maybe, I do need to chill. And I feel like even with this, like I say, communication helps, because at the end of the day, you don't owe anybody like an explanation as far as to like why you're doing something or whatever. But I always kind of like to think about it, the other way, as far as like, okay, what if it was on the other foot? So I'm always, like I say, open and transparent, because like I say, sometimes, things can just be a misunderstanding. And this kind of just goes, with the whole life aspect, as far as like not knowing where people come from. Because, even like I say, with close friends, it's certain things that we all kind of like do. And a lot of times, like I say, people won't realize it, regardless of you, saying like to admit it like or not. With friends, I feel like, they are drawn together by having like common interests and, just kind of different, I guess for like different reasons or whatever. Because sometimes, like I say, it could just be like a place-based type thing. Like, you just happen to be in the same place or whatever. But obviously, a lot of times if it's something like extracurricular and you're in the same place, 9 times out of 10, y'all have that in common. Like y'all both want to be there. It's a little turn up spot, or, what I'm saying, it's here or it's there. But it's just kind of like, just being aware, what I'm saying, like when that friendship initially pops off. And I feel like, that's the thing that we kind of like fail to realize too. Like we're not, forced to be in any friendship or anything like that. And there's no like time limit on it as far as like how long, you have to wait or whatever. And like I said, this might sound, kind of crazy or whatever, but people always kind of talk about, protecting that energy and just vibrating on a high level. But I feel like when you're, on the path of pretty much just protecting your energy, you'll kind of go to like all costs to do that. So if that takes me, longer to become somebody's friend compared to just, okay, yeah, well, here go my number, blah, 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 come chill with me, blah, 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 then that's just what it is. Because, me personally, I'm that serious about my mental health as well as just protecting my energy. Because, I always tell people like it's not like an overnight process or whatever. And like I say, just looking back on a lot of things, sometimes I catch myself reacting so differently compared to, situations that I've been in before. But I feel like that just kind of evolves around the aspect of life and kind of just learning like, okay, maybe this wasn't the best approach. Maybe I should have went about this another way. And it's just so crazy because, like I say, you kind of get comfortable with people. So sometimes, like I say, people do see another side of you as far as just reaction-wise, because I'm always, big on the energy and stuff like that. And a lot of things I have, personally cut out, regardless of if people see it or not. But it's just kind of like a personal reflection type deal. And something else, just as far as, giving chances and kind of just going, into the whole aspect, is void. So I feel like this kind of comes with that whole pretty much just kind of like intention. So a lot of times people have voids, and sometimes people will, hide these voids. Like nobody is really just kind of going like, okay, I have a void. And like I always say, this is just relationships in general. So even as friends, I had really heard something like so important on this in a sense, and it kind of like really really, it was really intriguing, and it was like, man, I can't, wait till I go record again so I can go share it. So I had seen this post on IG, and I had actually reposted or whatever, but it was pretty much like pertaining to like friends or just kind of like different relationships having voids, and of course this involving two people, so both people are at a low and they have their voids, and one person kind of helps the other person, get out of that void or kind of fill that void. And it wasn't, just like a temporary feel. It was kind of like, okay, I'm full, I'm whole, And sometimes it's just kind of like a seasonal type thing. Like people know how to react to you when you have that void or, when you act a certain way, but they don't know how to react when you are, like at your best. And that, like that really kind of had just blew my mind just as a whole, because I'm like, dang, it's crazy. You would think, people would be able to, if they can accept you at your worst, then they can definitely, accept you at your best. But that's, definitely, not the case. And like I say, the message had really made so much sense to me, because it was like, man, how can, someone really be, not necessarily be fine with you at your worst, but more so kind of like, trying to help you build this, that, and the other. But then, when you get at your best, it's kind of like a complete different, ball game or whatever. And kind of like his message kind of, I guess, relating to that was talking about how it could really play out multiple ways. So one of the ways he had said was, now that, you're at your best, they don't have anyone to help, and they're pretty much still at their low. So, what I'm saying? Like I say, it could go multiple ways or whatever. So it's, like I say, it's so vital to kind of just, like I say, look at these intentions and also kind of like be aware of these voids and just be honest, because a lot of times, like I say, you'll be so surprised where honesty can get you. And a lot of times, like I say, it is still some people that are unrealistic about honesty. Like you could directly tell them like exactly what it is, and they are still, trying to kind of twist your words or, take it as something else. But it is what it is. Like I said, at the end of the day, all you can do is just really be honest. And the next thing I kind of wanted to talk about, like I say, all these topics to me, pretty like personally, they kind of tie together and go hand in hand. So the next thing I kind of wanted to talk about was like compatibility and just kind of like the lows and highs. So I kind of already touched on like the lows and highs as far as like filling voids and things of that nature, and also compatible, just discussing, I guess, like friends. But with compatibility, I kind of wanted to, touch on that and just kind of state like, it's just, obviously we know what to be compatible is, but I feel like a lot of times people just mainly associate that with like boyfriend, girlfriend, and not necessarily with friends. I feel like at the end of the day, to be compatible, you have to have certain things in common, but also want to like lift each other up. And, I was kind of having a conversation, and this had kind of like it really kind of threw me off because I never thought about it like that. But a lot of times I feel like the reason like certain relationships fail, well, mainly like, regarding to like friendships and things like that, is because people expect something from somebody that they really, truly just don't possess. And I feel like that's kind of, why I kind of harped on the analytical stages as far as like, analyzing the situation and really realizing, who you are kind of becoming friends with, not necessarily overanalyzing them like, dang, I'm gonna put like a fine, I'm gonna pull out this, microscope or whatever and just kind of like try to find something wrong, because best believe you will find it if, you look that hard. But like I said, at the end of the day, as humans, I feel like we're supposed to be accepting of one another and unjudgmental. As far as, like I say, compatibility, you have to definitely want to see each other win and kind of have something to bring to the table, kind of how we, heavily discussed on the last episode. And, I really, like I say, didn't have much to kind of talk about with that, because I felt like I had already pretty much covered it for the most part. But the next thing I had kind of wanted to talk about was, just the mental and just kind of like how powerful it is. So, one of the things I hit on, and I see a lot is, people thinking themselves into a slump, or just kind of like having a negative mindset from the jump and pretty much, of course, nothing changing. And I feel like, that is because the mind is so powerful. And I feel like a lot of times us as humans, we forget that, because even me, like I say, sometimes I won't say I forget it, but I just neglect it and I just choose not to do certain stuff. Like even, after a long day of, barely getting sleep or something like that, having to get up the next morning early to go do something beneficial, like going to the gym or, reading or whatever it may be, I'll be like, man, I'm just so tired or whatever. And most of the time that's not even the case. It's just kind of like I'm telling myself I'm so tired. I'm telling myself I don't want to wake up. And I feel like, like I had said with the first topic, if we pretty much kind of go into this cycle and just change the way we think as a whole to, okay, I could do whatever I want to do. At the end of the day, I just need to make up my mind to do it and just get up and do it. It just makes stuff so much easier, because majority of the time, like I, wake up whatever time I wake up, like early in the morning, and I kind of look at that clock, and whenever I get to thinking about it, like, okay, do I really want to wake up this early? I went to sleep at such and such. Then majority of the time I choose not to actually get up. Well, not at that time at least. I mean, I still have to get up pretty early, but not at that time. I'm like, man, I could just do it after I get off. Just kind of making excuses for myself. And like I say, that to me, that kind of goes back to the mental, compared to days where I just wake up and I'll be like, get out the bed. I get out the bed and I just, get to whatever I need to get to. And I feel like, for me personally, that's just kind of like a good practice. And just even thinking about, just some of the like times and kind of like tasks and hurdles that I've overcame, that's kind of like been one of the biggest things, not overthinking it. Because when you overthink things, obviously, like I say, you'll think about all the possible negatives that could happen instead of the positives. And with that, you pretty much kind of already starting yourself off bad, just because you're not really focusing on the big picture and what you can really obtain. And, like I say, I could think of a million examples, for real. I could really think of a million examples, but I feel like it's important to, just like you want to kind of strengthen your body, just strengthen your mental. So a lot of times, that won't even be a practice that you have to worry about, or something that you kind of have to associate yourself with, because you're strengthening your mind and strengthening your mental, and just kind of like coming up with this process like, okay, I know I can do this. I know I can do this. I know I can do this. And like I say, a lot of the subjects that we kind of discuss, evolve around this, just as far as like just manifesting stuff. I feel like, once you speak on it and manifest it, you'll become, that much more determined to obtain whatever it is that you have discussed. And then just also having those affirmations. I feel like when you have those affirmations and you pretty much just kind of speak on what you want to accomplish, or what you plan on accomplish, or what you are in a sense, then you kind of eliminate those negative thoughts in your head. And it's crazy, like I say, once I had to kind of just start doing like research on, I guess, the in-depthness of affirmations or whatever. Not to say they always come true, but like it just kind of like heavily evolves around your mental and kind of like your word just being, so powerful. But it is, like I say, crazy situations where people repeat these sayings, hundreds of times out the day. And like I say, me personally, I don't have, a problem with with people doing it. Like, I feel like, it's completely normal. Me personally, that's not something that I practice. I just, kind of like say my affirmations or whatever. And, it's different little apps and stuff like that. Say my little stuff in the morning and usually I'm good. But like pretty much your kind of day and your mental kind of ties in together, because if you start out bad, not to say you can't have a turnaround, because I have had plenty of days like that, but just, for the essence or whatever, the better you start off your day, the better you can keep it. Just kind of like staying vibrating at a high energy and just kind of, pretty much just being on that. And so that's pretty much going to wrap it up with those topics, I just feel like I had said at the beginning, it was just so important for me to kind of talk about those topics and, just really have this kind of like this solo session, this one-on-one. So, I mean, for all the listeners out there, you could definitely expect, more episodes, just kind of, having little sessions like this, because, I mean, obviously, look at the time, just to say I was kind of on here by myself. But, I mean, I can't even lie and act like I do these often. These are, probably be every blue moon, just kind of like on any topics that I could really think about, that I feel like, I just kind of like need to just really, hone in on and just kind of really just kind of go in depth as possible. It was definitely good to talk about some of these topics. And like I said, I hope, some of the listeners out there kind of get some type of clarification or, some type of message from pretty much what was stated. But on another note, if you're listening to this episode on Friday, and not saying it's the last Friday, but you want to catch it this Friday, because I promise I'm going to be there. If you're listening to this Friday, catch me at Smoothie King with the $5 32 ounce. And remember the 3 flavors I told you. If you didn't catch them or you don't remember them, go back to the beginning and get them, man. But without further ado, man, that's going to wrap it up. Peace.